Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I am Azra Hassan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Decision to use organic fertilizer will move forward despite challenges, says President. Are the deaths of turtles linked to the Express Pearl tragedy? Calls to probe the death of 19 turtles in the span of 10 days. Those who disseminate fake news on social media could be arrested sans a warrant. A clarification from the police. Was the bus ferrying a group to quarantine ordered to return? Minister Sarath Virasekara reiterates facts.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said that the people's representatives should move forward to implement the decision to use organic fertilizer as it is beneficial to the people despite challenges posed during the transition period. The President expressed these remarks last evening at a meeting held with the participation of chairmen of district development committees.
We
have imported fertilizer required for the current harvesting season as well. There are sufficient stocks of fertilizer in the country. I directed authorities to implement this decision from the next season. Fertilizer required for this year has already been imported. Organic fertilizer is not only compost. There are tea plantations which are carried out with the use of organic fertilizer. Those harvests fetch good prices as well. Those are not conveyed to the people. The people are not made aware. That is the most tedious task. There are obstacles, but it is not impossible. This is beneficial to us. This has been widely accepted the world over. This is where our future generations must be led to. Although it is a tough task, it must be done despite criticism. This is not a sudden decision. It was very clearly set out in the Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor policy statement. We further elaborated on our direction during the budget speech. This decision would benefit not only the nation but also the world as a whole. If it is disadvantageous, I would not implement it.
Meanwhile, Agriculture Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage expressed the following views on the usage of organic fertilizer.
We will provide the necessary technology for farmers who own less than a hectare of land and provide them a payout of 36,000 rupees to purchase fertilizer for the Maha season. Several small and medium-scale organic fertilizer production companies have expressed interest over this mechanism. 3 state entities, the Cooperative Department, Land Reforms Commission and provincial entities will work towards this. Therefore, this Agriculture Ministry will take steps to provide adequate fertilizer to the people. 20 companies are currently importing organic fertilizer. This is already taking place. But we appointed a special committee to look into this matter. We request the opposition to avoid politicizing this issue. We ensure that farmers don't experience shortage of fertilizer. If farmers experience a drop in harvest, then we are willing to pay compensation.
Practically speaking, if you speak to farmers in Kalpitia in the Putlam district, they will tell you that there is no fertilizer. Will the government implement a program to distribute fertilizer in the first place?
I accept that farmers are complaining of a shortage of fertilizer, but there is no shortage. There are 40,000 metric tons of fertilizer at the moment. After that decision, stocks of fertilizer had been hidden and sold at higher rates. That is when we decided to sell fertilizer for vegetable cultivation at the Agrarian Services Centre as well.
Won't the usage of chemical fertilizer and pesticides be permitted starting from the Maha harvesting season?
There is no regulation to that effect. If we stop fertilizer imports, then there won't be fertilizer stocks in the country. We are going to import certain types of pesticide under a different permit. Currently, we don't have a solution to this disease infecting potato cultivations. Therefore, the department will import some pesticides to be used in the event of any disease that affects crops. It will not be for sale in the market.
Farmers cannot cope up when a mechanism is overturned completely. I feel it would be better to introduce this in phases.
This was not a sudden decision. We planned this out in our Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor policy as well. no one is opposing the usage of organic fertilizer. Although the distribution process has come under fire, we wish to accept that.
It is the government's responsibility to provide fertilizer to farmers. The government came to power pledging to offer fertilizer free of charge. But fertilizer is not available for sale at least. All crops including tea grow with chemical fertilizer. Estate owners apply chemical fertilizer once in 3 months. If they don't use it at least once in 5 months, then they won't be able to pluck tea leaves as it would turn yellow. The tea industry will plunge into a crisis when chemical fertilizers are banned all of a sudden.
I accept what you say. I am also a small-scale tea owner just as you. Minister Ramesh Patirana will clarify matters pertaining to that.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has said that the port city will be used to mark a turning point in the country despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the Prime Minister made these remarks during the 2021 Sri Lanka Investment Forum today.
Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021 got off to a start yesterday under the auspices of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. 65 countries joined the forum that is taking place online. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa presided over today's session.
Colombo Port City ව්‍යාපෘතිය කඩිනමින් ජාත් කිරීමට අවශ්‍ය නීතිමය රාමුව සකස් කොට ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමට කටයුතු කර තිබෙනවා. රටේ සර්ව ආර්ථික සාධක යහපත් මාවතකට යොමු කිරීමට සැලසුම් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා. ඒ අනුව අප රට නැවත 106ක පමණ වර්ධන වේගයක් ඉක්මවා යන මාවතකට අපි දැන් යොමු වෙමින් සිටිනවා. නව පෝට් සිටි නගරය පදනම් කොටගෙන ඊළඟ අවුරුදු 5 තුළදී අප රට තුළට අවම වශයෙන් ඇමරිකානු ඩොලර් බිලියන 15ක පමණ ආයෝජන ආකර්ෂණය කර ගැනීමට අපි දැන් කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා. ඒ සඳහා අවශ්‍ය නීතිමය සහ ව්‍යාපාර කිරීමේ පහසුතා රාමුව අද වෙන විටත් නව 50ක් වලින් අප ස්ථාපනය කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ හරහා කොවිඩ් වසංගත මැදේ වුවද අප රටේ හැරවුම් ලක්ෂයක් සනිටුහන් කරවීමට අපට හැකි වනු ඇතයි අප විශ්වාස කරනවා. අප බලාපොරොත්තු වන්නේ ලෝකයේම ඉහළ පෙළේ ආයෝජකයන් අප රටට පිවිසෙන්නට දිරිමත් කිරීමයි. වර්තමානයේදී ණය ගන්නවා වෙනුවට ණය නොවන විදේශ විනිමය ගලායෙන් අපි ඉලක්ක කළ යුතුයි. ඒ සඳහා විවිධ මෙවලම් සහ වැඩසටහන්
We are in the process of getting down adequate vaccines in future as well. Through this, we expect to shield the entire population from COVID-19 by end 2021 to early 2022. Small country like us cannot lock down for a long period unless the country has a very strong economy. Managing the pandemic is essentially managing the economic and livelihood as well. Preserving the national economy has been a decisive factor for Sri Lanka before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and will be post-pandemic too. Also, by now, we are focusing on enhancing Sri Lanka's potential in facilitating MICE tourism, meaning meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. If we superimpose the strategic location of Sri Lanka, it is possible to identify the opportunities that can reap mutual benefits to Sri Lanka and partners around the world. I believe Sri Lanka is a unique and land of opportunities for economic partnerships as of today.
Today is the World Oceans Day. This year's theme for World Oceans Day is the ocean, life and livelihoods.
It is no surprise that a major portion of our world belongs to the vast ocean. The oceans cover approximately 70% of the Earth's surface, including plants, animals and other organisms. Be that as it may, only 0.3% of the water in the globe is consumable, with 97% of the water existing in our oceans. The ocean is home to most of the Earth's biodiversity. Thus, it is imperative to strike an immovable balance between the ocean and life on land to build a connection that is inclusive inclusive, innovative and useful for the ocean and the life inside it. The ocean areas fill several basins on the Earth's surface that keep the planet warm by providing 50% of the planet's oxygen and absorbing 30% of carbon dioxide. The ocean is also the largest source of food and fuel in the world. However, by today, this vital asset is under severe threat. Ocean pollution, particularly the dumping of plastic and other non-degradable waste into the ocean, plays a prime role in the destruction our oceans have faced at present. 8.8 million tons of plastic and polythene waste is dumped into the ocean yearly, disregarding its role in sustaining all life on Earth. Sri Lanka too is largely guilty towards the damage dealt to the ocean, as we are one of the largest ocean polluters. Around 0.24 and 0.64 million tons of mismanaged plastic and other waste in Sri Lanka usually ends up in the ocean annually. Compounding these woes further, the ocean was dealt an unprecedented blow 2 weeks ago in the wake of one of the largest marine pollution events in history. How long will the Sea of Sri Lanka and the resplendent ocean of our world as a whole experience the ramifications of this tragedy? Only time will tell.
Today, as we celebrate World Oceans Day across the globe, Sri Lanka is witnessing the worst marine pollution in its history. The Newsfirst.lk beach, where I'm standing right now, is a victim of such marine pollution that was caused by the distressed MV Express Pearl vessel. The beaches that were known for its beauty were filled with dead marine life and plastic the past few weeks. And the people that once came here to enjoy the sunsets now only come here to collect the debris. Can any amount of money restore what we lost? The damage is unmeasurable. And today, on World Oceans Day, here's a little reminder that you need to take care of the ocean. We need the ocean, and the ocean needs us. So let's take care of it, because there is no planet B.
The Sea of Sri Lanka.
In more local news, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has said that maritime accidents are a contributory factor to ocean pollution. He made these remarks in his message to mark the World Ocean Day today.
In his message to mark World Oceans Day, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that a monetary compensation cannot cover the damages caused by the recent maritime accident in Sri Lankan waters. The statement added that the impact caused to the coast, marine resources, the biodiversity in oceans and the fishing community cannot be evaluated in monetary terms. The Prime Minister noted that all possible steps would be taken to protect the country's waters to uplift the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of individuals, including fishermen who depend on the sea to earn a living. Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, in his message, has said that the damage caused due to the stricken vessel to Sri Lanka's marine resources and the environment will leave a lasting impact for decades. He pointed out that the law must be enforced with transparency in an unbiased manner against all those responsible for this heinous crime.
We will be back after this short commercial break. Stay with News First, the voice of the people.
Bellboy's got you covered. Download Bellboy today to get all your household appliance fixing and repairs done. Now available on Android and iOS.
Welcome back to the news. Sri Lanka's Fiscal Management Responsibility Act was amended in Parliament today. Meanwhile, the Parliament also passed 9 proposals to the Appropriation Act and several regulations to the Imports and Exports Control Act as well. Now, these were the views expressed during the debate in Parliament today.
We cannot obtain debt as it is reaching the 10% limit. Therefore, we require 2 amendments to the Fiscal Management Responsibility Act. That is to extend the established debt to gross domestic product target until 2030. The other reason is to increase the guarantee limit specified from 10 to 15%. When the economy is closed off, then the country won't receive revenue. We earn revenue through economic activities. We have indirect taxes that are generated through the sale of goods. The sale of goods have declined as they are not in a position to do it. That is why we couldn't place the country under a lockdown despite massive criticism leveled against the government. The tea, rubber and coconut industries that generate revenue are at a standstill. The same applies to the garment industry as well. When exports decline, what is the alternative? We are not receiving foreign exchange. When that happens, we will have to use our reserves to stabilize the rupee. But we don't have massive reserves either. We should import vaccines, medicine and fuel from other countries, regardless of whether we like it or not. We must import raw material as well to support the export industry. A letter of credit must be opened to import these goods. When that is done, the foreign bank must accept the letter of credit. When our country doesn't receive foreign exchange, they won't recognize our letters of credit. We won't be able to import goods after that. Then people will die without medicine. That is the bitter truth. Government revenue has declined significantly. We are currently managing testing times on the financial front. This parliament has not been vested with the powers to manage funds brought personally by the president from Mirihana or by the prime minister from Madamulana. The treasury consists of public funds.
චීන ණය ගන්න පටන් ගත්තා. ඉන්දියාවෙන් ණය ගන්න පටන් ගත්තා. බැරි වෙනකොට අන්තිමට බංගාලි.
They began to obtain loans from China and India. Ultimately, they obtained loans from Bangladesh as well. This is a dangerous situation. The exact situation is much more dangerous than what we assume. Our debt stands at 105% of our GDP. Sri Lanka is second on the list of middle-income earning countries with the highest debt. The first is Lebanon. This shows the standards up to which we have fallen. By the end of 2020, the debt owed by state authorities stood at nearly 17 billion. The government has decided to increase the debt limit as well. This highlights the failure to establish an environment conducive for investments. Therefore, the shortage of foreign exchange has resulted in the economic instability. This has disrupted the government. The government gave away the port city by betraying our national resources. They are making several decisions to betray our sovereignty as well. Tax concessions have been given to foreigners while national assets are being sold. They are taking steps to sell valuable properties through the entity named Selandiva. The government is behaving in a manner that suits the foreigners. We don't oppose the Chinese, Indian or US governments. We oppose the Sri Lankan government. It is the Sri Lankan government that is betraying us.
අපි විරුද්ධ ලංකාවේ ආණ්ඩුවට. මොකද ලංකාවේ ආණ්ඩුව තමයි අපේ රට පාවා දෙන්නේ.
The government has rolled out plans to commence the development of several areas in the country. The exercise would be carried out under the 100 Cities Beautification Program by the Urban Development Authority. Cabinet approval for the project has been granted to a paper tabled by the Prime Minister this week. The project aims at transforming cities developed in an unorganized manner to public-friendly cities in accordance with a proper plan. Meanwhile, cabinet approval has been granted to a joint proposal tabled by Ministers Namal Rajapaksa and Vimal Veeravansa to establish factories at divisional secretariat levels. The program is expected to encourage the establishment of factories that can generate at least 50 job opportunities with a minimum investment of 100 million.
On the role of Minister Namal Rajapaksa, now this is something that is also being spoken of a lot. He seems to be very active these days. He's involved in a lot. And, people are asking if he's going to be the next prime minister, if he's going to take over, in 2022, even before the elections and something like that. I'm just wondering if we can react to that as well. Thanks.
With regard to that, I think it's a political jargon and the political sort of misgivings. If you go by some of those stories that are spread around, tomorrow somebody might say that somebody else is, or I don't want to mention names even. So I don't think you, as a very senior journalist, I don't think you should take it seriously, because these are things that spreads around right across the country, not only here, all over the world, with certain rumors. So unless it has been confirmed and it has been sort of authenticated, I don't think you should take any serious note of any of those things. As you know, those are wild, sometimes accusations and things like that.
Now shifting our attention back to the world oceans, there Today, we reluctantly report the tragic fate suffered by an amazing creature that inhabited our oceans for millions of years. Now, turtles are an innocent species whose life expectancy can even exceed a century. But 19 carcasses of turtles have washed up on Sri Lanka's waters in the last 10 days. The most recent events were reported from Vellavatta and Rakava areas.
The Sea of Sri Lanka and our serene coastline is home to 5 species of turtles. The green turtle is a species that frequents our coasts for laying eggs more than any other turtle species. Additionally, the olive ridley turtle is also frequently found in Sri Lankan waters. Turtles are greatly endangered due to the rampant pollution plaguing our shores. It has been 18 days since the Express Pearl vessel caught fire off the Colombo port. While the carcass of one turtle was discovered 8 days since the fire erupted on board the vessel, 19 carcasses of turtles had washed up on Sri Lanka's coasts since then. This was in the Panadura, Nigambo, Toduava, Unawatuna, Koskoda, Payagala North, Dehivala, Vaduwa Thalpitiya, Angulana Thalpitiya, Moondalama Sinnapaduwa and Rakava areas. This morning, the carcasses of 2 turtles had washed ashore in the Vellavatta and Rakava beaches. The turtle which washed up ashore in the Rakava area is a loggerhead turtle, which is identified as a critically endangered species. Post-mortem examinations have been carried out on 10 turtle carcasses at the Attidia Wildlife Rehabilitation Centre. An officer at the centre speaking to Newsfirst said it is suspected that the deaths of the turtles were caused due to the environmental effects of the Express Pearl fire. He added some parts of the animals' carcasses have been sent to the government analyst for further examination.
What caused the sudden deaths of turtles?
We have to assume that the hazardous chemicals released into the seas through the burning Express Pearl caused the deaths of these turtles. If we speak about the turtles that have died and washed ashore, we see the green turtle. Additionally, we also see one of the smallest species of turtles that we find in the oceans. We can observe that even they have died in large numbers. Another species we find to be among the dead are the loggerhead turtle, which lives around the coral reefs in the country. This species is a critically endangered species.
What could be
the catalyst for the deaths of these turtles?
With the prevalent indications, we can assume that these deaths are connected with the environmental destruction caused by the Express Pearl. In some turtles, we have seen that even their scales have fallen off, which means this can be an effect of a strong chemical reaction that could even remove the scales of the turtle. We had even seen some animals that showed signs of being boiled to death.
If they came from the ship, then they could only have died due to plastic. So the turtles can die through suffocation. So just like our food goes the wrong way, and if they take a lot of plastics in their mouth, they can actually go the wrong way and suffocate. Initially, during this accident, a lot of the currents were south. That's why the pellets were basically going towards Gaul and Mathura.
Who should be held responsible?
Environmental experts point out that the sudden death of the turtles may have been caused not only by the chemicals on board the Express Pearl vessel, which were discharged into the ocean, but also by plastic pellets which fell overboard. How many containers of plastic would have been on that vessel, which was transporting 1,486 containers in total? The Marine Environment Protection Authority has continued to say that the amount of plastic pellets on board the vessel is still uncertain. They added 600 tons of sand-mixed plastic pellets have been collected in 40 containers until now.
If you are produced in court for selling turtle eggs, you will be fined 25,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees. Now we are witnessing mass deaths of turtles. Who is responsible for this? Everyone, including the incapable minister, officers of the Marine Environment Protection Authority and the Central Environmental Authority, state ministers, cabinet ministers should be held accountable for this.
ආරක්ෂාධිකාරිය රාජ්‍ය ඇමති කැබිනට් ඇමතු ඒ සම්පූර්ණ වගකීම් මීට දඬුවම් ලැබිය යුතුයි.
A multitude of questions have arisen over details emerging from the fire that erupted on board the Express Pearl container vessel. Did the captain of the vessel, its owners or local agent inform authorities about the chemical leak before departing from India's Hazari port? What is the truth behind the emails claimed to be sent by the skipper of the vessel to its local agent? Why was the vessel allowed to enter the Colombo port when it had been denied permission to unload the leaking container at Qatar's Hamad port and India's Hazira port? Were sufficient steps taken to minimize the damages when the vessel was in distress?
Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca and Minister Sarath Weerasekara expressed these views in Parliament today.
In the past few days, we saw posts on the quarantine process. Let me remind you of a song, although I cannot sing it.
සින්දුවක් නිකන් මතක් කරලා දෙන්නම් තාලෙට කියන්න බෑ මෙතන මගේ පුංචි රෝසමලේ මමයි උඹේ වියපත් බඹරා. එතකොට මේ එන්න ක්‍රමවේදයට ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා මට සීනෙන්වත් උඹට සීනෙන්වත් නොපෙනුන බඹරා කියලා. එතකොට මේ බඹරා ගැන පැමිණිල්ලක් තියෙනවා.
There is a complaint against this individual concerned. Some police officers contacted me after the last address. They said that about 300 individuals visit the field force headquarters daily while being clad in gold chains and bangles. They are dropped off in V8 vehicles with their families to receive the vaccine. 3,000 vaccines have been administered to the individuals whom I described. This must stop as they are unjustifiable. I know low-income earning individuals who had to pay 1,000 rupees for the vaccine. Fraudulent activities are taking place. We must stop that to ensure that justice is served. We don't aim to topple the government by revealing these matters. We are hoping that this nation would be saved from the pandemic and that an environment suitable to everyone would be created.
Several factions accuse me of getting involved in turning back a police bus which was transporting certain individuals to a quarantine center in Passara. I never engaged in such an activity. While those individuals were being taken to the quarantine center in Passara, a lawyer contacted me and said that his clients are being transported to the quarantine center with only the dress that they had been wearing. He said that this would be unfair as those individuals have to carry the essential items including dresses if they are to remain in quarantine for 14 days. 2 individuals on the bus also informed me about this. When I inquired about this matter from the sub-inspector, he confirmed that. I then asked for the transportation of the bus to be halted and then instructed the IGP and the DIG to take appropriate action. Accordingly, the IGP had directed the bus towards the Thalangama police station and then allowed their relatives to bring the necessary items before proceeding to the Passara quarantine center. That was the incident. Accusations were also leveled stating that my son's wedding was held at the Shangri-La Hotel and that a prominent makeup artist had offered 2 million rupees. That is a blatant lie. I wish to inform this House that such claims on my son's wedding and the payment given to me are false. The allegation that my son, who is a doctor, had taken clothes to those individuals is also false.
මගේ පුතා වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් වන ඔහු ඔවුන්ට ඇඳුම් ගෙන ගියා කියන පුතා තාම අමූලික බොරුවක්.
The Sri Lanka police has announced those who disseminate false information, fabricated photographs and videos on social media could be arrested without a warrant. The police media unit, through a release, has edified the masses on which wrongs could be committed through the dissemination of fake news. They are the breakdown of public peace, conflicts between different races or religions, sexual offences against children or women, persecution of religions, incidents of various frauds. The release further notes a trend has been observed where people have been encouraged to breach quarantine regulations through the dissemination of fake news. It adds arrests can be made without a warrant on those who promote false information based on provisions of a number of acts, including the Sri Lanka Penal Code, Prevention of Terrorism Act and Obscene Publications Ordinance. Therefore, Sri Lanka Police has requested the general public to refrain from promoting false information on social media individually or in an organized manner.
It is pertinent to note that legal action will be instituted against those who promote fake news and explicit images and videos which mislead the masses. The CID and the Police Computer Crimes Division will browse the web to identify those who disseminate fake news which incites violence and hate.
Meanwhile, Rajiv Yasirukuruvitage, the chairman of an organization named the Information Technology Society of Sri Lanka, has been arrested for disseminating false information on social media regarding a cyber attack which had occurred targeting a number of state institutions, including the Presidential Secretariat. When the suspect was produced before court, Additional Magistrate Rajendra Jayasuriya, it was ordered to remand the suspect until tomorrow, where he will be produced before the Chief Magistrate.
He has claimed government websites could be hacked. He has been arrested saying the Prime Minister's website was hacked. Immediate intervention is required to solve this matter.
The government is following a policy of suppressing information being flowed to the people, and now a person has been arrested as well. Please issue a clarification regarding this.
මනුෂ්‍ය නානායක්කාර මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඔබතුමාගේ තන ඔක්කොම අපි අඳුරගෙන තියෙන්නේ. වැඩ කරන අයත් දන්නවා, පඩි ගෙවන තැනත් දන්නවා. මම ඔබතුමාට කියන්නේ ඒ නිසා හෙට අනිද්දා පනත යටතේ ඔබතුමාට විරුද්ධවත් කටයුතු කරන්න වෙයි. දැන් මගේ මාධ්‍ය ව්‍යාපාරයක් තියෙනවා කියලා මෙතුමා කිව්වා සමාජ මාධ්‍ය. මගේ කිසිම සමාජ මාධ්‍ය ව්‍යාපාරයක් නැහැ. මම අහන්නේ ඔබතුමා පැහැදිලි කරලා කියන්න මට එහෙම මීඩියා කම්පැනියක් තියෙනවා නම් ඔබතුමා පැහැදිලි කරලා කියන්න. නැත්තම් ඉස්සර දැනයි නමයි ඔක්කොම කියන්නද? සියල්ල කියන්නද? පොඩ්ඩක් පනත සම්මත වෙනකම් පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න.
සමාජ මාධ්‍ය සම්බන්ධව කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාවක් දැම්මා. අද නෙමෙයි දැන් සති 3කට පමණ පෙර විශේෂයෙන්ම එහි සඳහන් කරා 100%.
A cabinet proposal regarding social media has been submitted. It was done long ago, not recently. Based on assessments, around 17% of accounts do not have a proper user and they promote and publicize information which disrupts national harmony. We believe steps must be taken against those. This was a joint cabinet paper presented by myself and the Minister of Justice. The Ministry of Justice is acting in that regard as we speak.
මේ රටේ තියෙන වංචා දූෂණ මංකොල්ල මහ බැංකු මංකොල්ල පොල්තෙල් වංචාවල් සීනි බදු වංචාවල් ඔක්කොම හෙළිදරව්.
Corruption has been largely exposed when certain segments of the society are given preferential treatment in the face of the law, and that is exposed through the media. Social media users express their views without holding back. They have a right to express their sentiments. A witch hunt has been launched to arrest such individuals. No government in the past has successfully suppressed the right of expression. They have always been rejected by the people.
එවැනි ආණ්ඩුවලට වැඩි කාලයක් නොගිහිල්ලා ජනතාව විසින් ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කළා තියෙනවා.
Sri Lanka's total COVID-19 case load rose to 210,102 following the discovery of 2,123 new COVID-19 patients today. The total recoveries of COVID-19 infections has increased to 178,259, with 47 new COVID-19 related deaths being reported in the country yesterday. The total death toll in the country now stands at 1,789. In news overseas, French President Emmanuel Macron has been slapped in the face during an official visit to the southeast of France.
In a video circulating on social media, French President Emmanuel Macron is seen walking up to a barrier on a trip to the southeast of France outside the city of Valognes. A man in a green t-shirt slaps Mr. Macron in the face before officers quickly move in. French media reported that 2 men have been arrested following the incident.
Shifting our attention back to some local news, residents in the Central Expressway are expressing dismay over the flooding of their homes due to the construction of the expressway from Kadawatha to Mirigama. Several areas, including the Gampar town, were inundated due to heavy floods experienced in the recent days.
The roads between Jaila and Kandana and also between Jaila and Gampaha were inundated by floods. Residents of Gampaha say that the floods that had never occurred before had destroyed their cultivations and properties as well. They pointed out that this had caused destruction amounting to hundreds of thousands of rupees.
We have been left completely helpless. Pay us compensation or provide a solution to this.
Residents had planned a protest citing that the Magalegoda area in Gampaha had been flooded due to the dumping of a large amount of sand in connection to the construction of the Central Expressway. But the police had intervened to prevent the protest, citing that it violates quarantine regulations. I wish to fearlessly recall Nimal Lanza saying that houses have not been flooded near the expressway. If he visits our area, we will show him the areas. These areas were flooded heavily.
The previous government changed several plans. They attempted to construct these roads by filling sand instead of building them on pillars. We will take action. If this had been caused due to the expressway, it is only because it is under construction.
Meanwhile, the area near the garbage dump in Kotikawatha continues to be inundated by floods. Area residents attribute unlawful constructions and the blockage of drains to the floods.
We experienced floods previously as well, but no action has been taken. For the last 2 days, the flood waters have been black. We can't travel through that.
Meanwhile, Newsfirst has received footage showing Trade Minister Bandara Gunawardena visiting an area inundated by floods.
And that's a wrap of this edition of Primetime News. For the Newsfirst team, I am Azra Hassan with our sign language interpreter for tonight, Brian De Cruz, joining us via Zoom. We leave you tonight with some views expressed by Opposition MP Vijay Tahera today. Take care and good night.
The Epilogue.
මේ කොරෝනා වසංගතයත් එක්ක විශේෂයෙන්ම විවිධ තැන්වල ගැටලු ගණනාවක් මතුවලා තියෙනවා. අපි දැක්කා පහුගිය දවස්වල ගාල්ල
Many issues have arisen with the COVID-19 pandemic. Recently, we saw the private entity which provided protection to the Somalian pirates in the Galle harbour. There is a scam happening there. There are private companies which bring down passengers through ships to Sri Lanka. But this company is getting involved in this, citing that the sailors and engineers of other entities will have to undergo PCR tests. Some officers have been kept in quarantine for more than 10 occasions. This means that they have been in quarantine for 140 days and that a very subtle scheme is being carried out. The Gampaha district is flooded. Some areas in that district have not faced a flood in 35 to 40 years. These are floods of haphazard planning. There was an incident of an ancient tree in the Gampaha district. I heard a minister recently saying that this flood is a result of not cutting that tree down. Does it mean that this tree is so big that it extends from Kadawatha to Mirigama? Is this tree blocking the flow of water and causing floods? The government has ignorant ministers like this. You can imagine their knowledge of the environment and development. The government is yet to expose the local agent of this ship. They don't expose it. We have information that it is someone named Arjuna Hettiarachi. The agent withholding this information is a serious offence under the penal code. We agree with the organic fertilizer plan, but the Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor policy mentions something else. The policy notes that this change will be done over a decade. That was the policy. But something else is happening now. That is the problem. The dollar rate is skyrocketing. If we make a rash decision out of fear, we will face the consequences in the form of a food shortage. Therefore, don't make that mistake.
නමුත් දැන් සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ ඒක නෙමෙයි. එතනයි ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ. දැන් ඩොලර් ටික යනවා කියලා ඒකට බය මේ තීන්දුව මේ විදිහට වැරදි තීන්දුවක් ගත්තොත් මේකෙන් ඇති වෙන අතුරු ප්‍රතිඵලය අනාගතයේ ඇති වෙන ආහාර අර්බුදය ඊට වඩා භයානකයි. ඒ නිසා ඒ වැරදි දේ කරන්න.
The Epilogue.